Before he was a king, before the crown, before the palace, there was a boy alone in the wilderness. No army behind him, no applause. Only sheep, endless hills, and shadows moving in the dark. And what he learned there would become one of the most powerful declarations of courage ever written. This is the story behind Psalm 23. The hills of Bethlehem were quiet at dawn. A young shepherd stood watching over his father's sheep. His name was David. He was just a boy, but his days were not spent in comfort or games. His world was the open range where danger lurked in every shadow. Shepherding was not a gentle pastime, it was a constant vigil. Lions prowled the rocky slopes, their roars echoing through the night. Bears hid in the thick brush, ready to snatch a lamb that strayed too far. And human thieves, desperate and ruthless, waited for any moment of weakness to raid a flock. Every night David stood guard, a young protector against a brutal world. He learned to listen to the subtle shifts in the wind, to read the signs in the earth, to move silently through the landscape. He learned to stand firm, to fight when necessary, to put his life on the line for the helpless creatures entrusted to his care. It was a harsh school, but it taught him something profound about survival, about responsibility, and about the deep, unwavering bond between the cared for and the caregiver. If these vulnerable sheep survived only because of their shepherd, perhaps he, a young boy facing down wild beasts and desperate men, survived only because of God. This raw, untamed existence wasn't just a job. It was the crucible where his faith was forged, where his very understanding of life and protection was shaped. This relentless dedication, this quiet, unyielding watchfulness, became the bedrock of his courage, setting the stage for a life that would defy expectations and stand against impossible odds. Years later, after battles and betrayals, after he had become a king, after his own life was marked by both great triumph and profound sorrow, David would write words that have echoed through centuries. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." This was not poetry born from a place of comfort, a fleeting thought in a moment of ease. This was a statement of fierce confidence, forged in the very crucible of fear and hardship. It was a declaration from a man who knew what it meant to face down a lion, to confront a bear, to fight a giant. He wasn't just using an image, he was speaking from his soul, drawing on the deepest experiences of his youth. Just as he, a young boy with a slingshot and a staff, had guarded his father's sheep against unseen dangers, he understood that God, the true shepherd, guarded him. This understanding was not theoretical, it was visceral. It was the absolute conviction that true courage doesn't spring from one's own strength, but from the unwavering trust placed in a power far greater than oneself. It was the realization that in the face of overwhelming odds, when all human strength failed, there was a divine shepherd who would never falter, never abandon, and never leave him wanting for what truly mattered. A good shepherd does not drive sheep harshly, pushing them along with whips and shouts. No, a good shepherd leads. He walks ahead, finding the path, clearing the way. He knows where the best grazing lands are, the spots where the grass is richest, where the water flows clean and sweet. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. This isn't just a pretty picture, it's a vital strategy. Sheep need rest, not just food. They need quiet places to drink without fear of predators lurking in the shadows, or the rushing current sweeping them away. This lying down in green pastures, this leading beside still waters, is about more than mere sustenance. It's about restoration. It's about the soul-deep refreshment that comes from knowing you are safe, cared for, and utterly at peace. Restoration is not a sign of weakness. It is not an escape from responsibility. Instead, it is the profound preparation for what lies ahead. It's the recharging of spirit, the calming of frayed nerves, the rebuilding of inner strength. The shepherd knows that a well-rested, well-fed flock is a strong flock, ready to face the next journey, the next challenge. In our own lives, when the world feels overwhelming, when the demands are relentless, sometimes the most courageous act is to allow ourselves to be led to these green pastures and still waters, to find moments of true rest, to allow our souls to be restored. It's in these moments of quiet trust that true resilience is built and courage is rekindled, not in a display of bravado, but in the deep, unwavering confidence that comes from trusting in the one who cares for you completely. Sheep, by their very nature, are wanderers. They are easily distracted, prone to drifting off course toward cliffs into thorny thickets. They follow the wrong voice, attracted by a fleeting glimpse of something new, often to their peril. This is why the shepherd must always walk ahead, choosing the right path, the one that is safe and sure. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. This isn't about rigid rules, it's about wisdom and foresight. The shepherd knows the landscape better than the sheep. He sees the distant cliffs, the hidden pitfalls, the winding trails that lead to safety. He leads not just to any path, but to paths of righteousness, paths that are right, straight, and ultimately beneficial. Even when the road ahead feels uncertain, when the fog rolls in and obscures the horizon, the shepherd sees the full landscape. He knows the destination, even if we, the sheep, can only see the next few steps. Courage, then, is found in the simple act of following. It is the willingness to trust the one who leads, even when you cannot fully see or understand where you are going. It's about letting go of the need to control every turn, every ascent, every descent. It's about taking that next step because you trust the one who has always led you well, the one whose wisdom is infinitely greater than your own. To follow in faith, even when the destination is veiled, is perhaps one of the deepest expressions of courage, an act of surrender that paradoxically strengthens the spirit. Every shepherd, no matter how skilled or caring, must eventually lead his sheep through valleys. These are the deep ravines where sunlight barely reaches, where the air grows cold and damp, where the shadows stretch long and predators find ideal hiding places. David knew these valleys intimately, not just from the hills of Bethlehem, but from his own life. He faced his own deep canyons, the terrifying giant Goliath, the relentless pursuit of King Saul, the bitter betrayal of his own son, Absalom, the accusations, the loneliness of leadership. These were his valleys of the shadow of death. Yet in the midst of it all, he wrote, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." This powerful declaration doesn't claim that the valleys disappear, or that the danger isn't real. It acknowledges the inevitable presence of these dark times. Valleys are not exceptions to life. They are a fundamental part of the journey. They are where our faith is truly tested, where our courage is either shattered or solidified. But David's courage wasn't born from an absence of fear, or from a magical bypass around the danger. It was born from a profound awareness. For you are with me. This presence changes everything. It's the difference between facing the darkness alone and knowing that an invincible protector walks beside you, within you. Fear is a natural human response to danger, a primal instinct. But in this context, David declares that allowing that fear to consume him, to paralyze him, is a choice. Courage, then, is not the absence of danger. It is the absolute awareness of a comforting, powerful presence that transcends all danger. It is walking through the deepest, darkest parts of life, not without apprehension, but without being overcome by dread, because you are not walking alone. This profound assurance in God's presence transforms the very nature of the valley, turning a place of potential despair into a pathway through which one can walk with resolute, quiet strength. A shepherd carries two essential tools, a rod and a staff. The rod, a heavier club, was used for defense, for fending off wild animals or deterring human threats. It was an instrument of protection, a symbol of strength and authority. The staff, long and slender with a crook at the end, was for guidance. It was used to gently prod a lagging sheep, to pull a lost lamb from a thorny bush, or to rescue one that had fallen into a crevice. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This isn't just about physical defense. It's about a comprehensive sense of security. The comfort comes from knowing that the shepherd is always ready to defend, to protect you from harm, to stand between you and the enemy. But it also comes from the gentle, sometimes firm guidance of the staff. It's knowing that when you wander off course, when you get stuck, when you need a gentle nudge back to the path, the shepherd is there to lead you. Even what feels like discipline, those moments when the staff gently corrects, is an act of love, ensuring you stay on the path of safety and well-being. Protection brings a profound sense of courage, knowing that you are guarded from external threats. Guidance brings security, knowing that you will not be allowed to stray irretrievably. These tools, one for defense and one for direction, symbolize the complete care of the shepherd, reinforcing the deep trust that banishes fear and instills a quiet confidence. Shepherds are meticulous. Before bringing their flock to a high meadow for a period of feeding, they don't just arrive, they prepare the ground. They remove threats, venomous snakes, hidden traps, dangerous holes. They clear poisonous plants that could sicken the sheep. They ensure the environment is safe, even if dangers still lurk on the distant ridge. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This image is staggering. It speaks of a banquet, an abundance, laid out not in a secluded safe haven, but right there, in the very sight of the threats. It's not just survival. It's thriving, flourishing in the midst of adversity. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. In ancient times, shepherds would often anoint their sheep's heads with oil as a protective measure against insects and disease. It was a sign of care, of healing, of setting apart. And the overflowing cup. That's not just enough, it's more than enough. It's a generous, extravagant provision that goes beyond basic needs, signaling a life of abundance, even when surrounded by challenges. This verse paints a picture of God providing peace and profound blessings, not after the battle is won, but during the struggle, in the middle of the danger. It's about experiencing a deep sense of peace, security, and overflowing provision, even when the enemies are watching, even when the threats are visible. This isn't just about weathering the storm. It's about feasting in the rain, about finding joy and plenitude when circumstances would suggest only scarcity and fear. Sheep, by their very nature, follow the shepherd. They trust his lead. David realized something far deeper and more personal about this divine relationship. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. This wasn't a fleeting hope or a wishful prayer. It was a firm, unwavering declaration of certainty. Surely, not occasionally, not only when things are easy, but all the days of my life, even in the deep valleys, even in the fierce battles, even in the crushing uncertainty of leadership, even in moments of profound personal failure. Goodness, the active provision and benevolent care of God and mercy, his steadfast love and compassion are not just ahead guiding the way, but they are following him. They are relentless, persistent companions, never letting go. This imagery is powerful. Imagine two steadfast shadows, always behind you, never abandoning you, always there to catch you if you fall, to lift you if you stumble. This isn't just about God being present. It's about his active benevolence and his unwavering compassion being an inescapable part of your existence, a constant presence that pursues you with kindness. This truth provides an incredible foundation for courage. If goodness and mercy are always following you, then even in the darkest moments, you are never truly alone, never truly without hope. This constant, unwavering pursuit of divine kindness becomes the ultimate source of resilience, a profound assurance that allows one to face any challenge, knowing that the shepherd's love is an eternal following force. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The shepherd's care does not end at sunset, when the day's grazing is done. It does not cease at the mouth of the valley, or at the end of a perilous journey, or even at the end of life itself. It is eternal. This promise of dwelling in the house of the Lord forever speaks of a permanent, secure, and intimate relationship with the divine shepherd. It's the ultimate assurance that all the care, all the protection, all the goodness and mercy experienced in this life are but a prelude to an everlasting belonging. When fear whispers its lies, when the shadows stretch long and try to consume you, remember the shepherd boy who became king. He faced lions with bare hands. He stood against a giant with only a stone. He endured betrayal and loss, yet through it all he clung to a single powerful truth. He declared, not in a moment of naive optimism, but from the depths of a life lived in the raw presence of danger and divine protection, "The Lord is my shepherd." And because of that unwavering belief, he was not afraid. If you want to delve deeper into how faith can conquer fear, then click on this video next.